There were 2 cats in the house. They weren't related, but people called them a family. There was a gray cat and an orange kitten. The kitten had a father outside who was a handsome ginger cat. He was friends with the dogs and often came into the house to see his son and spend some quality time with him. The gray cat was a loner. She didn't like anyone and kept to herself most of the time. She only got along with the owner of the house. And even then it wasn't really that great. But she tolerated her presence. However, the gray cat became very attached to the kitten, even though she didn't admit it. She took care of him and taught him how to survive on the streets. Most importantly, she made sure he would never become a stray. One day, the gray cat noticed something strange. The ginger cat hadn't come around for a few weeks, so she decided to go find him and bring him back home. After all, he did have a son waiting for him. When she found the ginger cat, he was hanging out with another female. She told him she wanted him to meet someone and introduced him to the so-called someone. Then they all went back to the house together. At first, the kitten was happy to see his dad, but when he saw the other female cat, he hid behind the gray cat. This made the gray cat very suspicious. Why did the ginger cat bring another female cat to his house? Was this the reason why he had neglected his son for so long? The gray cat didn't like this development at all. Even though she wasn't the kitten's mother, she felt betrayed by the ginger cat. How could he do this to her after all the years they'd spent together? From that moment on, the gray cat decided she would never let the kitten go to the ginger cat again. At least not without her supervision. She knew that if the kitten stayed with the ginger cat, he would turn into a stray just like him. If she didn't do anything, someone else would take care of the kitten, and she liked the idea of having a little friend to talk to. But one day, the gray cat made a fatal mistake. She left the door open before leaving the house, and the kitten went outside while she was gone. The moment the gray cat came back, she panicked because the kitten was nowhere to be seen. She looked everywhere for him but couldn't find him anywhere. And since she didn't know where the ginger cat lived, she couldn't ask him if he had seen the kitten. She was desperate and scared. What if a car had run over the kitten? Or what if a dog had attacked him? Meanwhile, the kitten was sitting comfortably in the bushes near the ginger cat's house. He had been watching the gray cat frantically looking for him and couldn't help but laugh at her behavior. He was tired of her always getting in the way of him and his father. Sure, the gray cat had taken care of him and loved him like a mother, but he still preferred being with his real father. He didn't want to live with the gray cat anymore. The kitten waited until dark and then quietly approached the ginger cat's house. He meowed softly until the door opened and the ginger cat picked him up. The ginger cat was very happy to see his son again, but he was also worried. Had something happened to him? Where had he been all this time? The kitten purred and rubbed against his father, not saying a word about the gray cat. He didn't want to worry him. And so the kitten started visiting his father more often. Every night he would leave the gray cat's house and sneak into the ginger cat's house. The gray cat was going crazy with worry, but she didn't know what to do. She couldn't leave the house, otherwise the kitten would get out again. And she couldn't fight the ginger cat because he was too strong for her. Then the gray cat had an idea. She would pretend she was sick and weak so that the ginger cat would feel sorry for her and let her come with him and the kitten. Her plan was to get close to the kitten again and make him stay with her instead of his father. But would it work? A few days later, the gray cat started acting weird. She lay on the floor all day and didn't even try to eat. The kitten was worried about her and meowed loudly, asking if she was okay. The gray cat pretended she didn't hear him and continued laying on the floor. The kitten was scared. He had never seen the gray cat act like this before. He thought she might be seriously ill or hurt. That's why he went to check on her and bring her some food. But the gray cat just pushed the food away. The kitten didn't know what to do. He tried everything to convince her to eat, but she just kept rejecting him. The gray cat continued to act strangely for several days. The kitten was starting to panic. He didn't know what to do and was too scared to tell his father. On the 6th day, the gray cat suddenly stood up and walked to the door. She meowed sadly and looked at the kitten. The kitten understood she wanted him to follow her. He didn't know where she wanted to go, but he followed her anyway. The gray cat walked slowly, stopping every few steps to meow sadly. The kitten was worried about her and tried to lick her to comfort her. When they arrived at the ginger cat's house, the gray cat looked back at the kitten and meowed sadly one last time. Then she turned around and walked away. The kitten was confused. Why had the gray cat brought him here? Did she want him to live with his father? But why? The kitten meowed loudly to get the ginger cat's attention. When the ginger cat opened the door, the kitten rushed inside. The ginger cat was surprised to see the gray cat at his doorstep. But when he saw the sad look on his son's face, he understood something must have happened. He asked the gray cat what had happened, but she just shook her head and walked away. The kitten ran to the ginger cat and rubbed against him, purring loudly. The ginger cat hugged his son and promised to take care of him from now on. The gray cat watched them from afar and felt a sharp pain in her chest. It was a pain she had never felt before and didn't understand. The kitten looked back at the gray cat, but he didn't meow or try to get her attention. Instead, he turned around and went back inside with his father. The gray cat felt completely alone. No one wanted her around anymore. Even the humans didn't pay any attention to her. They just kept talking on their phones and didn't even bother to pet her. She was furious. All these years she had put up with their ignorance, but now she had had enough. She went to the kitchen and knocked over a vase with her paw. The humans finally looked up from their phones and stared at her in disbelief. The gray cat hissed at them and arched her back. She was done with their games. She no longer wanted to pretend she liked them. That's when the gray cat heard the sound she'd been waiting for her whole life. The sound of revenge. The humans screamed and ran away. The gray cat purred and rubbed against their legs, enjoying their fear. Finally, she could be herself again. Meanwhile, the kitten was having the time of his life with his father. He played with yarn, chased bugs, and climbed curtains. The ginger cat was a much better father than the gray cat had ever been. He played with the kitten, fed him, and told him stories about the outside world. The kitten learned so much from his father. He told him how to hunt mice, how to climb trees, and how to fight off dogs. One day, the ginger cat went out for some fresh fish and asked the kitten to take care of the house. The kitten was excited. Finally, he would have the whole house to himself and could play without his father getting in the way. But then the kitten heard a familiar meow at the door. He opened it and the gray cat came in. She looked different somehow. Her fur was matted and dirty and she had lost weight. The kitten was shocked. He didn't recognize the gray cat at first. He asked her what had happened to her and why she looked so bad. The gray cat meowed sadly and told the kitten she'd been looking for him. She had missed him so much. She didn't know what to do without him. The kitten was confused. Wasn't she supposed to hate him? Didn't she want him to stay away? But then he remembered what the gray cat had said the last time he saw her. She had told him to go to his father. Maybe she had changed her mind. The kitten meowed softly and told the gray cat to come with him. He would introduce her to his father. The gray cat was surprised. She had never seen the kitten act so friendly before. But she didn't want to disappoint him, so she agreed. When the ginger cat came home, the kitten introduced him to the gray cat. The gray cat was nervous. She didn't know what to say or how to act. The ginger cat looked at her for a moment, then nodded his head. He understood what had happened. He had seen the gray cat struggling on the street and had known she needed help. The three cats spent the rest of the day together. The gray cat told them how she had missed the kitten and how she was sorry for how she had treated him. The ginger cat listened patiently and then nuzzled the gray cat. He forgave her and knew she would never hurt the kitten intentionally. From that day on, the three cats became a family. The gray cat stayed with them and took care of the kitten while the ginger cat went out hunting. They were happy together.